I, a 41-year-old female, live in Montana, and a few years ago, I was forced to relocate after my landlord decided to rent to her son. The community I had lived in for 11 and a half years had become incredibly expensive. Like the average medium home price shot up to $787,000. Unfortunately, I was forced to relocate to another city because of the unexpected move and associated costs. I moved in with a roommate. My roommate left to pursue better job prospects about 3 months after I moved in. Our unit was a triplex, so there were 2 other gentlemen that inhabited the other units. I was never added to the lease as the property manager required a full deposit, and I was not in a financially healthy spot at the time. I remained in the unit for a year and a half on my own, paying the rent and utilities. I became very good friends with the man in the unit closest to mine. We can call the man Devin. Devin, who was 52, was a disabled veteran in recovery. I am also a veteran, so he held a soft spot in my heart. We shared meals, hung out, discussed all of life's mysteries, and we would look out for one another. Devin had gone to treatment for 6 weeks, and I had watched his cat for him while he was gone. Our friendship developed over the course of a year and a half. Devin had expressed romantic interests. However, right from the beginning, I clearly informed Devin that I did not share those feelings and we would never be more than good friends. Now, Devin seemed to be lonely, which made sense. However, I am the type of person who requires alone time to recharge my batteries. I set strict boundaries for Devin as he wanted to hang out all of the time. I would catch him walking through the front yard multiple times a day to get the mail, which I believe he was trying to see if I was outside so he could stop the chat. When I would leave in the morning to go to work, Devin was always outside to tell me that I looked nice and to have a good day. I told him that really made me feel uncomfortable, and he should just send me a text to let me know if he wanted to hang out and wait for a response. There were a couple of times that I yelled at him for overstepping my boundaries. The first, I had just got home and pulled into my garage. I was on a phone call and I stayed in the car. Devin looked through my garage window to see if I was home. I was annoyed, but I didn't really think much of it. The second, I was getting dressed in my room in the summer, and so the window was cracked. I felt this was safe as the window was not at a place that anyone should be walking by, as it was on my patio at the back of my house. I caught Devin peeking through. I lost it. I let Devin know, under no uncertain terms, his behavior was inappropriate and that if he didn't respect my boundaries, we would no longer be friends. Last year, while I was still in my home, I asked Devin to watch my dog for a couple of days so I can go to a family event out of state. Devin was very happy to help, and I was very appreciative. Not long after I returned, I started to notice strange things in my home, but I really just thought it was me. For instance, I would fairly be certain that I locked my door in the morning when I left for work, but when I returned, it would be unlocked. I would be so sure I had turned off all of the lights, but when I got home in the evening, one would be on. I really just thought it was absent-mindedness. Fast forward a couple of months and my mom became sick with cancer. My sister watched my dog while I went to tend to my mom. My sister reached out to me and asked if anyone else had a key to my apartment. I let her know that she had the only spare key, but I asked why. Similarly, she had experienced the same issues with the lights and locks. I had not shared my concerns with my sister prior to her communicating hers with me, as I really just doubted my own sanity. While I was out of town, I received a text message from Devin asking if I had a potato he could borrow. I let him know that I was out of state with my mom who was sick. Devin did not reply, which was out of character, but I noticed a change in Devin's effect. He was more reserved and less friendly towards me. I thought it probably had to do with my firm adherence to my boundaries, which was okay. He didn't have to like them, just respect them. When I got back to town, one night I stayed over my sister's house after helping her move. As I mentioned before, I was struggling financially, so I would carefully budget and plan my weekly meals. The morning before my sister's move, I had placed 3 pieces of bacon into a Ziploc bag to be used later for a BOT. When I returned the following morning, much to my disbelief, there were only 2 pieces of bacon. I held the bag in my hand knowing that there had been 3. At that point, I no longer doubted myself. I called my sister and let her know that someone had been getting into my house that I always knew that I kept locked. The only logical thing that could have happened is Devin made a copy of my key when he had watched my dog in the fall. My sister reminded me about the potato text. The potato in the counter basket was gone. I had enough information to be certain that my neighbor had violated my trust and was no friend. However, I still wasn't afraid of him. As I mentioned, he was a disabled vet and was somewhat feeble and sickly. I was not scared of a confrontation. I immediately went to the hardware store and purchased a camera that streams to your phone once the motion detector had been activated. I placed it facing a side door where Devin would enter. It also had a two-way audio capability, so my plan was that when Devin decided to enter my home again, I would see it and say over the camera something to the effect of, "Get the out of my house, put the key that you copied on the counter, and never try to speak to me again or I will contact law enforcement." Now, as I said earlier, I am not on a lease and I did not want to be homeless, so I couldn't turn to the property manager for help, and Devin knew it. In the evenings, I started placing a jug of cat litter and a kitchen chair in front of the door that I knew Devin was accessing the apartment from, but I never expected he would attempt to come in while I was at home, and really, he only had taken a piece of uncooked bacon and a potato. Laying on the couch one night watching TV, I thought I heard something sliding on the floor in the laundry room where the door was, but I knew there was no way he would come in while I was at home. Besides, my cat was just running around playing, so I decided that it was probably just her, and I was just being paranoid because all of the things that was happening. The next morning while I was changing my laundry, I noticed the litter and chair had been pushed 3 to 4 inches. I checked the sensitivity of the camera and found that I was able to replicate it by slowly opening the door. Devin tried to come in while I was home. Why? That morning, I took bear spray into the shower with me while my knees knocked. I was terrified. I felt vulnerable and violated. Devin knew that I knew now also. He knew that I placed a barrier in front of the door. After that morning, he was never outside in the morning, nor did he walk through the yard to get his mail. I obtained a firearm for protection and did a police report. The police officer was so annoyed with me because I didn't want him to approach Devin, as all Devin would need to do was report me to the property manager and I would be homeless. I am thankful that whatever he was up to was apparently thwarted. The fact that he tried to come in while he knew I was home gives me the heebie-jeebies. I wonder if he went through my underwear or watched me sleep, etc. Since then, my situation has greatly improved. Ended up moving out shortly after to take care of my mom. I got my own place again a few months ago. I would never put my trust in another neighbor for pet or house sitting ever again. It still blows my mind that I had such a douchebag stealing from me and likely stalking me as well. This story just solidifies one should always trust their gut. There were so many times that a red flag was screaming, and I just thought I was being crazy. The title sounds quite racist without any intent, I promise. I'm gonna tell you this story in backwards order. It seems more appropriate. My partner and I lived in this apartment once back in 2021. It was a small, one-bedroom apartment with a built-in bathroom. You would have to walk through the bedroom in order to use the toilet. It was around 3 a.m. in the morning when my partner woke me up, throwing fists in the air and screaming at something that didn't exist. So I asked him, "Why the hell did you do that?" He was hysterical, asking if I was really asking him that and if I was awake. And I said, "Yes," and he replied, Did you see that white man standing hovering over there then?" He got fed up, so he went into the bathroom to check if anyone was there, but it was empty, just emptiness. No one was there. His description of the person was that this man had long white hair, pale white face, with an evil grin look on his face while he was hovering over me. Sort of like crouching over me. He was trying to grab me. He got very upset, so he switched sides. He did not want me to get hurt, so he switched. He couldn't sleep afterwards. I thought he might have been drinking, but he wasn't. He got home late from work and just went straight to bed. Exhaustion? Possibly. If this had been the only time a white pale man was mentioned in my life. Back around 2009/2010, I was dragged to a fortune teller with my maternal side of the family. They truly believe in this sort of thing, whereas I was quite the skeptic. They'd spent a bunch of money that they don't have just to be told their future and fortunes. I was dragged into this simply because my foster mother wanted to see if the guy that I was dating would turn out to be a millionaire in secret. The fortune teller started the session off by giving my foster mother her fortune, that she'd be rich and she wouldn't have to work anymore. She'd be flying overseas like a millionaire. She'd be showered with gifts and love. Then he continued with my grandmother, my aunt, my cousin, and then me. I remember specifically what he asked of me. "You met him, haven't you?" The did he mean by that? You guys met each other already. A couple of years back. The white pale man. He smiled at you. I was still confused as hell with what the hell he meant by all of this. So many weird things happened in your life, but you refused to acknowledge them. I eventually had to ask for clarification because this was so dumb that I couldn't even wrap my head around what the hell he was even going on about. He explained that I had so many paranormal encounters growing up that one would have to just come to terms to believe them, but I refused to, and he knew of this. The fortune teller thought it was wise of me not to acknowledge them, but he also warned me that it would be a dangerous thing one day. Don't know what he meant by that. Didn't even know what he meant by that either. He then asked about my old dusty Nokia phone where I had taken a photo that this white pale man was in too. I froze. He asked where I had put it. I told him that I threw it away. Honestly, I can't remember. After all, he was a fortune teller, and he knew more than I did. None of my maternal side knew anything about it. My foster mom just kept interrupting him, asking him if I'd be married to a rich man one day so that way she could retire in peace without having to lift a finger. This fortune teller couldn't even tell how greedy my foster mom is. What a scam. He kept on saying that this white pale man was actually my guardian angel and I should not be afraid of him. I also called bullshit on that. Around 2004, I wanted to have a BlackBerry phone, but my family was so poor that they couldn't afford it. My dad gave me this secondhand old Nokia phone instead. You know, the one with the only back camera and no front camera. It was around 2-3 a.m. in the morning while I was still up chatting with my pals overseas. It was summer break, so I could stay up for however long I wanted to. MySpace was a thing back then, and I wanted to post some cute selfies on my profile. So I did just that. Yes, at 2-3 a.m. in the morning. Yes, alone at home. Yes, something did actually happen. The room I had my computer in was positioned like me facing the wall, and behind me would just be a large space for a bookshelf, a TV, and a large lounger sofa. I took several pictures with the back camera, which means I couldn't see what the heck was going on, or what did I look like, or how did I look. I just had to take the chances that one of them would turn out okay. I took about 10 photos and none of them were cute until I got to the last one. There was a man behind me. He was white, pale. His eyes were black and large. He smiled. His smile was wide from side to side. He had his face on my left shoulder side as if we were best friends. Somewhat long white hair. I screamed. I threw the phone away. I didn't know if I deleted the photo, but I didn't have the phone anymore. I freaked out so badly that I asked my grandmother to share a bedroom with me. I never told anyone in my family about this because they believe in the paranormal stuff, and I get annoyed with them each time I told them something of a similar situation. So yeah, this is my story. Listen to it and take however much grain of salt you want. I just thought this would be best put on Reddit and not on TikTok. Good evening, everyone. This is Yuri K, and this is the end of the video. Please leave a comment and let us know your opinions on the matter. If you happen to like this content, please check out our other videos. Make sure you like and share amongst your friends and family to help our community grow. You happen to be new to this channel? Please make sure you subscribe. It's free and you can always change it in the future. You have some terrifying story suggestions? If so, make sure that you send it to my email, fearofthedarkstories@gmail.com, and I'll feature it in a future segment. But you guys stay safe out there, and remember to always be afraid of the dark.